Kai, Jake, and Georgia. Let's get your cameras on if they're not, and let's go through a quick technology check-in. Preston, good morning. You're our first speaker today. I can see you. Thanks for being here. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Right on. Preston, what's your favorite snack these days?
I can't choose.
Okay. Is it because you're eating so many snacks, or that because you're not a snacker?
So many.
Okay. Thank you, Preston. We will come back to you in a moment, Preston. Appreciate you being here and stepping into this courageously. We're good to go. Annie, how you doing today?
I'm good.
It is good to see you. It is good to hear you. Annie, we've heard a lot of water responses. Are you a water summer beverage person, or do you have another summer beverage of choice?
I like tea.
Hooray.
Like iced teas.
What kind of iced tea?
Lemonade, and black tea.
Yummy. Thanks for being here, Annie. We're good to go. I'm looking forward to connecting with you in a moment for your speech. Kai, good morning, Kai.
Hi.
How are you doing today, Kai?
I'm all right.
Do you have a video game of choice these days?
No, not really.
Not really. Okay. Well, thank you for being here, and we're looking forward to your speech in a moment, and your tech is working, and I appreciate you. We're good to go. Jake Erbacher. Hello, Jake.
Hi.
Jake, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good.
Do you have a video game of choice these days?
Minecraft.
Minecraft for life. Well said. Okay, we're good to go, Jake. Thank you for being here. Looking forward to your speech. We'll connect in a bit. And then our last speaker today is Georgia. Georgia, good morning.
Good morning.
Georgia, is there anything that you miss at all about school and our building?
Just getting to hang out with my friends, I guess.
I hear that. I miss that too. Georgia, we're good to go. Tech, it's good to see you. It's good to hear from you. And thank you for being here. All right, 8th graders who are speaking today, we're good. We're going to get started in a moment. Audience, thanks again for honoring our expectations, being aware of your own tech so that we can be in support and solidarity with our 5 speakers today. We appreciate it. With that, I'm going to turn it over to our first speaker today. Our first speaker this morning is Preston Causey.
Procrastination has been an immense struggle for me throughout my life. You may think of procrastination as a form of laziness or a non-interest in the subject. It may have started out that way, but I can't control it. I want to do the work and get the good grade. I tell myself I'm going to do it. I may actually be really interested in the topic, and it might not be difficult at all for me. There's always that voice in my head saying, it won't hurt to put it off for an hour. That hour always turns to more and more and more. It's like there's 2 parts of me. One wants to do the work and realizes I need to get it done, but the other puts it off. It needs motivation. I have to play mind games with myself. Even want to do the task, especially for big things like this speech. Procrastination hasn't always been a problem though. It's helped me quite a bit with a lot of things. It allows time. It would have if I had not procrastinated. I'm not saying that procrastination is a good thing. It's gotten me into a lot more trouble than out. I'm just saying it's not at all bad as long as I learn to control it and not let it get out of hand. For example, my 7th grade speech. We had about a month to write a 2 to 3 page speech. So I put it off for a while, and it ended up getting so close to the deadline that I had to write the whole speech in 5 hours before it was due. I ended up getting a pretty good grade, but I'm not proud of these moments, and I can't just ignore them. I have to acknowledge that what I did was wrong and try to fix it. Procrastination has also brought me a lot of stress and anxiety. Put something off, and what do you know, it's due tomorrow. In 4th grade math, homework was assigned every week. I started off doing good and finished every week's work, but next month I started to procrastinate. I would not do a week and then do the next. It was off and on. By the end of the quarter, my work had stacked up and report cards were due soon. I had to then rush all the missing work I had done, including work from class, in a very short period of time. Some of that stress stays with me and it builds up. The next time it's even worse. Friends have helped a lot with that, and I just want to say thank you to those who have helped me throughout the year. You have made my life so much easier, and I can't imagine life without you. The quarantine hasn't helped a lot with my procrastination. It's given me way too much free time, which I would think would give me more time to work on school, right? No, completely the opposite. It's giving me more time to put off that work because I have nothing to do the next day. And guess what? I have nothing to do any day. Thankfully, I'm aware that it's a problem and I can use all that free time to try to figure out how to not make it one. So far, my efforts have failed, but hopefully school will come back soon and I can get back on track. High school will be a fresh start. I'll try my hardest to remove myself from outside distractions and get work done as soon as possible. I'll continue to make progress battling procrastination and hopefully learn to control a little bit more. I realize I will never be able to fully get rid of it, but I will keep trying. School is good for me. I've dedicated time to do my work, and I generally prefer to do my work and fear I might not do my work at school and fear I might not finish it at home. Also, I can socialize. The best part about school, I can interact with hundreds of people a day compared to the 2 I see a week. That's very important because if I don't want to be at school, I'm not going to want to get anything done. But alas, we probably won't be in school for another 3 months, so I have a whole summer to think of a plan. Or maybe you'll do it next summer.
Thank you, Preston. Thank you, Preston. All right. With that, our second speaker today is Annie Latterell.
Okay. Animals make better friends than people. A part of why I love hanging out with animals so much is because they don't judge you. You can be as weird as you want around them and they won't care, unless it's a cat. I'll be doing some random dance around them and they will just stare at me like, what the heck is wrong with you? So I picked animals make better friends than people as my 6 words because I'll normally choose to be around someone's pet instead of hanging out with the person. Like during lunch, I'd go take Norma out for a walk or I'd just be with her. Animals take a lot less energy to hang out with and they will always love you versus with people. I'm not saying that I don't like hanging out with my friends because I love to be with them. Like when we would go to the mall and pick out weird outfits for each other to try on, or when we would go to the movies. Those are some of my favorite moments. But when I'm tired, angry, or upset, I'll always choose being with animals. Another thing I love about animals is that you can talk to them and they won't understand you, so you can talk to them about anything. Writing and talking about myself has always been really hard for me. I really don't like to. I'm not entirely sure why. I just don't. Up until this year, I can't remember doing any writing pieces about me that are deep. This year I had to do an assignment called My Life as a River, where we had to talk about a significant person, place, event that we believe shaped our lives. I wrote about a hard time in my life, which I would have never dreamed of writing about. I did everything in my power to not let anyone see it. During pure editing time, I would hide my computer. Even my family hasn't seen it. Only 2 of my teachers have. I didn't want anyone to read it because it went deep into a side of me that I don't like showing. And I was scared if I let someone see it, they would look or think of me differently. I let 2 teachers read the story because, first of all, it was an assignment, so I had to get it graded. And the other person I let read was honestly because I'm not good at saying no to a teacher. Plus, I don't have him for any classes, so there wouldn't really be a chance for us to talk about it after. If I had shared it with my family, they would have wanted to have a conversation afterwards. So I guess a fear of mine is people seeing me differently and judging me, hence my love of animals, which is kind of ironic because I judge people constantly. I'm not really sure if it's a fear of being judged or something else, but I get really uncomfortable when it comes to talking about my emotions. My voice will get all shaky and I get super nervous. It only happens when I'm talking about being sad or the other emotions that go with sadness. Sadness is an emotion that you can be easily hurt by. It's more delicate. I also think of sadness as a weak emotion, and I don't ever want people thinking I'm weak. It's much easier to show annoyance, anger, or happiness. Not paying attention to my own emotions has affected the way I empathize and sympathize with others. I don't know how to be empathetic towards other people. I had a teacher who used to always talk about intent and impact, how you intend for something to sound versus the impact it has. I used to think about it a lot back in elementary, but I forgot about it up until this year. I rarely ever think about what I say before I say it. I'm working more on thinking before speaking now, but it's definitely a work in progress. If I had thought before I spoke, I wouldn't have gone as much trouble this year. But I really don't mind because I made a mistake, then I learned from it. I learned that the way I think is really confusing. After I say something rude to someone else, I tell myself that I don't care. I can convince myself that what I said didn't matter. But other times I'll be really sorry and super regretful of what I said. So I don't know which is the right side to believe in. I probably will never feel the same amount of affection towards people that I feel towards animals. They'll always be easier for me to talk to and to be around. I'd like to say that I'm working on being better with interacting with others on an emotional level, but it's really hard to work on that right now since we're all in quarantine. I may not be working on it actively with other people outside my family, but it's on my mind. I chose to talk to 200 plus people about my biggest struggle. Now I'm going to go poke my cat.
Thank you, Annie. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. Our next speaker this morning is Kai Cadiente.
I believe that balancing out responsibilities and hobbies is an essential core value to have. Without balance, things start to slowly fall apart, creating stress and an overall damper on productivity. When progressing through life, the workload you receive, whether that be from work or school, continues to increase and become more difficult, making the ability to balance work and fun an indispensable skill. Not finding the area in between academics and personal life can lead to putting off assignments up until a deadline, or procrastinating, which creates stress, which ultimately results in an unhealthy work environment. Throughout my time at Sunnyside, finding the in-between for activities and obligations such as homework and chores has been troublesome for me. Being unorganized led me to a lot of trouble and misfortune during school. Because of my grades, things that were fun to me were taken away. I wasn't allowed to hang out with my friends or be on my phone or computer. Without these things, day-to-day life was boring and mundane. This is why I make an effort to stay on top of my schoolwork to make sure it doesn't happen again. In 7th and the beginning of 8th grade, I prioritized things that were fun without any thought about what would happen if I didn't put any energy into academics. This resulted in poor grades and bad habits, which meant more trouble for myself at home and at school. This is when I decided to start using graphic organizers, set goals for myself, and focused on not procrastinating. After that, it felt like I had a lot more time to myself and I was more productive in and out of school. I also began to enjoy myself more in my classes since I was on top of my work and not putting it off. It ultimately gave me more free time to do what I wanted and increase my productivity. Even though I'm trying to stay organized and keep a balance, I am not completely proficient at balancing out school with free time and tend to procrastinate often. I will continue to work on my organization and balancing skills throughout the rest of high school and so on and so forth. In short, I think that organization and balancing are essential core values that, if learned, can be used anywhere in life.
Woo! Thank you, Kai. Okay. Our fourth speaker today is Jake Erbacher.
Alright. Since the day I was born, my parents always played music in the house. Early in my life, I never fully noticed it or taken a moment to appreciate the music I was hearing. Years went by, and I started to learn more about and recognize the sounds of prominent musicians. To this day, Neil Peart is a name and legend that sticks in my head as one of the great drummers. I started growing an interest in music when I was about 6. Then, when I was 7, I asked my parents if I could play the drums. They enrolled me in a music school, and through the first few months, I learned the basics. The feeling of sitting behind the drums and holding my sticks feels great, like it was meant for me. Through my first year at the music school, we all got to perform in a talent show. It was a proper venue, like I was going to see an actual show. There were so many different instruments that I had never seen before, and I actually never realized how many people went to this small music school. It was cool to see, but when it was close to my turn, I started getting nervous. I'd never been on stage before, and my first time performing was to an audience that felt like there was 1,000 people, even though there probably wasn't. When I got up on stage, my drum teacher and the guy at the front desk were playing guitar. I counted off and played a simple beat. Well, that's how it was supposed to go, but it didn't really turn out that way, and the guitar players had a hard time keeping up with me. I thought I was doing great at the time, but it turns out that I was all over the place and hard to follow. I stopped going there after that because I had found out that we were moving to Portland soon. I took a trip to Portland with my mom a few months before we were going to move. I got to see where I would be playing drums, and it turned out that I would be playing at School of Rock, which is one of the biggest music school franchises. When we went back there to New York, I was excited. I was excited to start going there. A few months later, an 8-day long car ride across the country, I finally got to go to School of Rock. I started out doing drum lessons in Rock 101. I liked my drum teacher. He was he was really good and taught me a lot, and I'm thankful that I got him. Rock 101 was different from drum lessons because you had to play with other people. I was nervous going into it, but it turns out it was pretty cool, and I had a lot of fun there. We only had to play around 3 songs in total, with most people only playing around 1 to 2 songs. The song I got was Astro Zombies by the Misfits, and that was the first song I ever learned. When we got to open on stage for the actual School of Rock shows, I had the same feeling as I had at the talent show, and was beginning to become nervous. When I went on stage, I was sitting there building up all the fear and thinking of the bad stuff that could happen. I count off 1, 2, 3, 4. Playing the song was the easy part. The hard part was not freezing because of my anxiousness. I did manage to get through the song and was relieved afterwards. After the show was over, I did another season of Rock 101. That show was a little bit less scary, but I was sort of used to it. Then I joined the show with the older kids. That was when a lot of stuff changed. I started progressing my drumming. I felt like I was under a lot of pressure since I was on the show with the good people. My first real show was like my first time playing over again. But once I play a song, I realize how easy it is and that I shouldn't have to worry about being scared or nervous. Many shows later, I've overcome my fear of being on stage, and my drumming has progressed a lot since the first time I was at School of Rock 5 years ago. I will continue drumming for a long time, and after this, and I am thankful for the people who gave drumming meaning to me.
Thank you, Jake. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Jake. All right. Our fifth and final speaker this morning is Georgia McHenry Weiner.
I would rather be drawing right now. If it were up to me, I would be sitting in bed with a cup of instant noodles on my side table, a sketchbook open in front of me, and Steven Universe playing in the background. Art is basically my entire life. When I'm happy, I make art. When I'm sad, I make art. I make art in my free time, and I make art when I'm supposed to be doing my homework. Why is art important? I'd argue that art is important because it is a language all of its own. It speaks through colors, sounds, textures, shapes, and even emotions. Sometimes it's well thought out and has meaning, and sometimes it's just a doodle on the corner of a paper napkin. It can be anything. And for me, the inspiration for the art can come in many forms. The shapes that shadows make on a summer evening, the gentle click of a Polaroid camera when I take a photo, the smell of a brand new book when I open it for the first time. These things may seem small and irrelevant, but sometimes they are inspiring and meaningful. I can capture these feelings with a song, a sketch, or a sculpture, a poem, a sewing project, a comic strip, or a painting. These are some of the ways I capture my feelings through art, but the options are limitless. Anything you could create can be used to communicate and express your feelings. But art also isn't always profound and meaningful. It doesn't have to have an important message. Sometimes it's just random crap I draw when I'm bored to have something to do or to make me laugh. Sometimes I make art to tell stories, like creative writing or comic books, or even plays and performances. Sometimes it's practice, sometimes it's a coping method, sometimes it's simply because I like to draw. Artistic expression is virtually endless. I think that art is one of the most important things in our world. It's not only the outcome that matters, but also the process of making it. Being creative is really important, and it can actually help enhance brain function. I used to go to a school that didn't really encourage artistic expression, and it felt stifling and just really terrible. People, and kids especially, need to be able to express their creativity. Now that I go to Sunnyside, or used to, I am able to freely express my feelings through art, and I'm much happier because of it. Art can be very helpful in therapy and healing. It can reduce stress and anxiety, as well as helping to process feelings and raise self-esteem. I can speak from experience. I have panic attacks sometimes, like when I'm stressed about a school assignment, homework, or other responsibilities. When I have a panic attack, it becomes hard to breathe or think. When this happens, I usually go lie down in bed for a few minutes, and once I'm calm, I will get out my sketchbook and draw. It is really helpful for me to be able to do art when I'm stressed because it's something I'm familiar with, and it can help to relieve my anxiety and process my emotions. But art doesn't only help when I'm feeling upset. It also brings me joy and helps me connect with people in the community. I've made quite a few friends because we connected over art. We get to hang out and draw together or laugh as we flip through each other's sketchbooks. Making art makes my life much more fun and enjoyable. That's why I find art to be so important. I like having a way to make something, do something, to express my feelings. My preferred art form is drawing. I love to draw. I get to invent my own characters, creatures, places, and cultures. I can create entire worlds that don't exist. I get to decide how they look, how they act, how they sound, smell, and feel. I've always been drawn to writing for this reason as well. But I'm not so good with writing stories, which is why I came up with a compromise. When I grow up, I want to be a graphic novelist. I collect graphic novels. I love how the artwork brings the stories to life. Sometimes it seems magical. But magic isn't real, right? That's why books like Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings are so cool. We grow up with these fantastical stories of impossible things. But I happen to think that art is mildly magical. I mean, think about it. You can take an image from your mind and somehow put it on paper or mold it into clay or stitch it into fabric so that others can see it too. Art opens up your mind to others in a way that I find fascinating. The fact that we can create entire worlds and characters and stories through our art is amazing, and I think that's kind of magical. This is why I think art is so important. It brings people together and helps to form communities. Art is deeply rooted in our cultures, society, and everyday lives. You may not notice it much, but it's there. Art is everywhere. Things like our music and our literature, the clothes we wear, the shows we watch, the buildings we live and work in, and much more. All of these things are art in some way or another, and I think that's pretty cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Georgia. Thank you, Georgia. Thank you. And thanks to the 208 of you out there for holding space for our 5 speakers today. To the 208 of you out there, please sit tight for the next few minutes so that we can take a moment to honor each of these speakers and what they put out there. As much as I enjoy clapping and cheering, that is really insufficient for what people have just shared. And that's why, part of the reason why we take time to just go through each speech and celebrate individually our speakers. It's why we ask y'all to go to the Padlets, because there's a recognition that no matter how many cowbell bangs I do, it's totally inadequate to how awesome the 5 speeches we just heard were. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Carrie and Robin here in a moment with the 5 speakers. Please come on with your cameras. And thank you to our 200+ audience for being present to our speakers throughout and for being aware of the expectations and honoring them so that we can thereby honor our speakers. And thanks for sticking around while we celebrate each one of them individually for a few more minutes. Carrie, to you.
Thank you, Michael. I'm going to start by celebrating Kai. I don't see you, but Kai, I'm talking to you. Realizing that people have to find a balance between life in school or eventually work in school is something that many adults are still coming to terms with and have to do. The pull that you talk about of the things that you want to do versus the things that you have to do certainly come in conflict with each other. And we are expected to learn how to balance them, and we're not always taught how to do that. You recognize that prioritizing fun over schoolwork led to consequences that you don't want again. And so you then offered strategies for how to go about managing that. And that's something that people here can learn from. I certainly hope that the feeling that school was less stressful for you that you mentioned in your speech when you were on top of your schoolwork stays with you so that high school isn't something that's stressful for you. And I wish you, Kai, the best in your journey to find a balance. Thank you, Kai. Preston, do I see you? I do see you. Hi, Preston. Thank you for defining a word that everybody uses differently. I thought your approach to this speech was something that as I read it, I thought I've not considered that. And it's a word that's used a lot, but there's gravity behind that word and that experience. And your explanation of it being 2 parts of yourself, kind of having a conversation back and forth, like you should do it. Nah, you can wait. That's a conflict that a lot of people are in and maybe haven't recognized that. I did appreciate your positive spin on procrastination and how that gave you more time to think about your writing, and how if you felt that you didn't let it get out of hand, that it was manageable. And in your experience, you've been able to pull it off, whether it was the 4th grade math or whether it was your 7th grade speech. And you do recognize that that last minute effort can be super stressful. Going into high school, Preston, I know you have the support of your family and your friends, and there are going to be new expectations, new teachers, new workloads and assignments. And I believe that your awareness of dealing with procrastination and what it causes you, and the strategies that you've developed, Preston, they're going to get you through. Thank you, Preston. Thank you for your words. Okay, Robin.
Thank you so much, Carrie. Hold on one sec. Can you see me? It's not showing. Awesome. Hi, everyone. Good morning. All right. I want to start with Georgia. Georgia, you swan dive into the world of art with us. You not only tackle huge questions like what is art? Does art always have to be profound or meaningful? But you share your personal relationship to art and how therapeutic and challenging times that it can be. You remind us that art keeps us connected in so many ways. Your creativity and your passion shines throughout this entire speech. Thank you so much for your voice and your courage. Congratulations, Georgia. Jake. Jake, you take us through your journey of learning to drum starting at 6 years old. The vivid details that you use and the images you invoke put us right into your shoes. It's a beautiful and inspiring story filled with fun memories as well as deep and honest insight. The story that you tell us of being 6 years old when you give your first concert is hilarious, and it's also a really wonderful window into parts of you that we don't often get to see in the classroom. I'm so proud of you for sharing your voice with us. You're so inspiring. Enjoy the sunshine today because you don't have to worry about your 8th grade speech anymore, my friend. Annie. Annie, you talk about your love for animals, how you feel most comfortable in the presence of animals, and you share your unique relationship to each animal in your life with us, from your cats to walking Norma at lunch. I think many of us can relate to this comfortable and unwavering feeling of animal companionship. Thank you for courageously sharing with us things that you're working on. Your vulnerability and voice is heard, and it's so appreciated. Congrats on your speech, Annie. It was fantastic. All right, another great day of speeches. Happy Wednesday. Please enjoy the sunshine, everyone. And remember to go on Padlet, as Michael said, and give positive feedback to Georgia, Jake, Annie, Preston, and Kai. Please show your gratitude. We still have more speeches to go, and each one counts. Head back to your core classes now. Thank you, everyone, for sticking around, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you, Robin.
Bye, Carrie. Thanks.